Imagine for a second that you are preparing to go on a reality television show. Like, what are you actually packing?
Right. Usually you'd think of, I don't know, loading up a suitcase with swimsuits or something.
Exactly. Maybe spending a few extra hours working on your tan, or practicing a few catchy one-liners in the mirror so you have something to say when the cameras finally start rolling.
Yeah, the classic reality TV prep.
Right. But what if, instead of doing literally any of that, you were up at 2 in the morning studying open source intelligence gathering,
Wow.
or running a personal SWOT analysis and, brushing up on corporate risk management?
It's a completely different approach.
It really is. Welcome to this deep dive, where we are taking a totally unexpected, highly analytical look at what it actually takes to win on screen.
And it is a massive pivot from what we usually expect when we talk about this genre. Today we are looking at a book called Reality TV Champion: The Mindset and Strategy.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, this text it shatters every preconceived notion you might hold about reality television just being a playground for, pretty people causing manufactured drama.
It totally elevates the entire concept.
It really does. It turns it into a masterclass on strategy.
And the reason it shatters those notions comes down entirely to the author, Bradley W. Deacon. Because here's the big twist of this deep dive.
I love this part.
Bradley Deacon is not some Hollywood producer. He has never been a casting director. He is actually a former Australian federal police agent.
With 15 years of experience under his belt, no less.
Yes, 15 years. And he was an inaugural member of their computer crime unit. He literally worked on Australia's very first hacking case.
Which is wild to think about in the context of reality TV.
Right. Add to that, he's a qualified lawyer, he's an educator, and he even attended the Yale Cyber Leadership Forum. So he looks at reality TV entirely through the lens of a cybercrime analyst.
Which is such a brilliant analytical way to deconstruct something that the general public just views as, well, pure chaotic entertainment.
Yeah, just turning your brain off for an hour.
Exactly. But he treats winning a reality show the same way he would treat a transnational cyber investigation.
Which brings us to why this deep dive is so incredibly relevant to you, the listener. Because the author actually writes that the scariest part of his book...
And he uses that exact word, scariest.
Yeah, the scariest part is that these cutthroat, high-stakes reality TV strategies are highly applicable to the corporate world.
Absolutely.
So that is the real mission for us today. We are going to extract these tactical and psychological nuggets so you can apply them directly to your own career and life.
Whether you're prepping for a massive client pitch or trying to navigate toxic office politics.
Or just attempting to manage your digital footprint in an increasingly public world, the survival mechanics are essentially the exact same. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the pre-application phase.
Right, the very beginning.
The book opens with a very blunt warning. He says, if you have skeletons in your closet, do not even bother applying.
And when you consider his background in cybercrime, you really understand why he emphasizes that point so heavily.
Because they will find out.
Well, they always find out. Going on a reality show is no longer just about putting yourself in front of a television camera for an hour a week.
Right.
It's submitting yourself to an intense background check and this unprecedented global level of public scrutiny.
Yeah.
You are essentially volunteering to be investigated by millions of people who have an internet connection and a lot of free time.
Doesn't everyone kind of know that? I mean, people still apply by the hundreds of thousands every year, assuming whatever they did 10 years ago just won't surface.
They do, and that is a critical miscalculation of the threat landscape. He uses this chilling phrase in the text. He says, "The world is full of vipers."
The vipers.
Yes. And these vipers aren't necessarily anonymous internet strangers who have to dig to find your secrets. We are talking about people already in your orbit.
So like who?
Ex-partners, disgruntled neighbors, former colleagues you clashed with. The moment you step onto a national broadcast, anyone who has ever held a grudge against you suddenly has a massive, captive audience ready to listen to them spill your secrets.
And the landscape has definitely shifted in how those secrets are weaponized, too.
Oh, entirely.
The text points out how these vipers will attack you from every angle, especially as you attempt to monetize your newfound fame after the show.
Right, because that's the ultimate goal for most contestants now.
Exactly. And it notes that the term influencer has become almost toxic in recent years, so the industry is pivoting to the term content creator.
Bit of a rebranding.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever label you use, stepping into that spotlight makes you a prime target.
The broader lesson here is paramount for anyone listening, regardless of whether you ever plan to be on TV. Protecting your personal brand is a full-time job.
It really is.
In the modern corporate world, your digital footprint precedes you. If a secret gets out or a past indiscretion goes viral, it's not just personally embarrassing anymore.
You become persona non grata.
Exactly. To brands, to sponsors, to future employers, your professional viability just gets dismantled overnight. So curating and fiercely protecting your reputation is a foundational survival skill.
Okay, so let's assume your closet is totally clear of skeletons and you decide to actually step into the arena. The preparation required just to get past the casting directors is staggering.
It really is a massive hurdle.
The book points out that out of the hundreds of thousands of people who apply for these coveted spots, the vast majority go in completely unprepared. They think their personality alone will just carry them.
Which is where his investigative mindset really shines through. He states very clearly that reading a show's Wikipedia page does not constitute research.
No, that's just scratching the surface.
That's amateur hour. If you want to hack the audition process, you have to treat it like a data analysis project.
Right.
You need to watch every single episode of the series. But you don't watch it for entertainment. You sit down with a notepad, identify the top 3 contestants from past seasons, and you literally measure their airtime.
That is so analytical, measuring the minutes they're on screen.
Yes, you reverse engineer their strategies, their character arcs, to figure out what the producers actually value and end up putting on the screen.
He also offers this incredible pro tip that honestly feels a bit like insider trading.
Oh, the overseas broadcast trick.
Yes. He says you shouldn't just watch the local versions of the show you were applying for. You need to look at overseas broadcasts of the franchise before those formats are even sold and launched in your own country.
It is a massive strategic upper hand.
Because you know what's coming.
Exactly. If you can anticipate the specific games, the structural twists, and the psychological traps before the casting call even goes out in your region, you are operating on a completely different level than the person who just filled out an application on a whim.
It's like finding a copy of the interview questions before you even apply for the job.
That's exactly what it is.
And speaking of interviews, the book brings in a classic corporate crossover for the casting process. The STAR principle.
Right, the STAR method. Situation, task, action, result.
Yep.
It is an absolute staple in behavioral job interviews across the corporate world. But applying it to reality TV casting is genius.
How so?
Well, when producers ask you a question about a time you handled conflict, they do not want a rambling, incoherent story. They have thousands of hours of tape to sift through. They want a structured narrative that they can easily edit.
But does a structured corporate answer really make for good television? I mean, don't producers generally want unhinged rants and wild emotional outbursts?
They want emotion, certainly. But they need contestants that can narrate the story clearly to the audience.
Ah, I see.
If you can explain the situation, the task at hand, the specific action you took, and the final result with clarity and charisma, you instantly stand out from the tens of thousands of other applicants who just can't string a coherent narrative together.
You prove to the producers that you can drive the plot forward.
Precisely. You become an asset to the production.
That makes total sense. And the testing doesn't stop at the one-on-one interview either. Eventually, producers will test you in group scenarios.
The dreaded group audition.
Right. They will put a bunch of massive attention-seeking personalities in a room and just throw a problem at them. And the natural instinct for most people trying to get on TV is to shout the loudest, to dominate the room, to prove they are the alpha.
Which the author identifies as a massive trap.
It's a total trap.
Producers are scrutinizing your group dynamics. Are you overbearing? Are you going to alienate the rest of the cast immediately? The secret weapon in these group auditions is actually collaboration and active listening.
Active listening in a room full of narcissists trying to get famous.
I know, right?
That is quite the visual.
It really is. But active listening doesn't just mean sitting quietly and waiting for your turn to speak.
What does it mean in this context?
It means fully processing what the other person's saying, reading their body language, withholding your own judgment, and providing constructive feedback that elevates the conversation. It requires immense empathy. If you can demonstrate that you can navigate complex social dynamics without just resorting to screaming, you become incredibly valuable to a producer.
But at the same time, you can't just blend into the wallpaper and be the group therapist.
No, absolutely not.
The specific phrasing used in the text is fantastic here. He says producers want extroverts who will eat the camera.
Eat the camera.
Yeah. They absolutely do not want shy, timid participants. You have to be authentic, but you have to be the brightest light in the room. You have to be ready to consume the spotlight while still playing well with others.
What's fascinating here is how the author takes concepts from the intelligence community and applies them directly to the gameplay once you are actually on the show.
This was my absolute favorite section.
He introduces the concept of OSINT, or open source intelligence.
Yes. He is basically telling reality TV contestants to act like federal spies. You don't just show up on day one and introduce yourself to your castmates.
No, you already know who they are.
Exactly. You use OSINT to research past contestants and study successful strategies long before you arrive. You are scouring Google, Bing, Reddit. You are tracking specific hashtags.
And you aren't just looking for trivia, you are mining for actionable data.
Right.
You are analyzing their behavior, looking at how alliances formed and why they fractured. You are studying the failure points of past players to ensure you don't repeat them.
It's crazy.
It really is an incredible application of cybersecurity tactics to a social game.
He pairs that cyber intelligence with traditional business tools, too, which creates this hilarious but highly effective mental image.
Oh, the SWOT analysis.
Yes. Imagine a contestant stranded in a jungle or locked in a house. Before they make a move, they sit down and mentally run a SWOT analysis.
Just analyzing their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in this specific challenge or social dynamic.
It's one thing to do a SWOT analysis in a boardroom with a whiteboard, a fresh cup of coffee, and a team of analysts.
Right.
It's entirely different when you are sleep-deprived, covered in bug bites, and paranoid that your closest alliance is turning on you.
The insight here is really about maintaining mental discipline and a corporate structure under extreme emotional duress.
And he also pushes the use of risk management principles.
Yeah, weighing the outcomes.
Before you take a massive leap in a physical stunt, or before you try to orchestrate a complicated blindside against another player, you have to formally weigh the likelihood of success against the consequences of failure.
It is literal corporate risk management applied to extreme obstacle courses and tribal councils.
And navigating that social landscape requires just as much calculated risk.
Definitely. The text notes that producers will subtly fuel drama. A stale show is a canceled show, so they need friction to keep the narrative moving.
They will poke the bear.
They absolutely will. But the winning strategy, however, is to not take the bait. You have to stay calm, composed, and absolutely avoid spreading rumors.
He is very clear on this point, too. Never be the saboteur.
Right.
It might get you a ton of screen time in the short term, but if you win the game through trickery or outright evil-doing, you destroy your long-term personal brand.
Because brands will not sponsor a villain.
They won't. They don't want their products associated with the person who ruined someone else's experience just for a laugh. You might win the prize money, but you lose the career afterward.
It all comes back to protecting the brand. And part of protecting that brand is understanding the environment you are operating in.
The constant surveillance.
Exactly. He warns contestants to treat every single room, every breakfast table, every quiet hallway as a hot microphone. You have to operate under the assumption that you are always being recorded.
And it's not just what you say that gets you in trouble, it's how you look.
Oh, body language is huge.
He specifically warns against the infamous eye roll.
That's a great detail.
Imagine you are exhausted, someone across the room is chewing their food too loudly, and you just instinctively roll your eyes. In the real world, no one notices or cares.
Right.
But on reality TV, producers take that 2-second clip, add a dramatic booming sound effect, and suddenly, you are the villain in a national promo.
Just from one look.
Your body language can betray you just as quickly as a hot mic.
Which leads us perfectly into the physical and mental toll of these shows, which is just extreme.
Oh, yeah.
You are placed in an environment of absolute paranoia and constant observation, paired with profound physical exhaustion. There are long hours of filming, intense physical stunts, and incredibly tight living arrangements.
Just managing the basics becomes a massive struggle. I mean, he actually has to remind people in the book to maintain good hygiene.
It sounds so basic, but it's crucial.
Because nothing will turn a group against you faster than being unkempt when you are all crammed into a tiny living space for weeks on end.
Right.
But the exhaustion isn't just a byproduct of the grueling production schedule. Sometimes it is utilized as an actual weapon.
That is one of the most highly specific and fascinating details in the entire text.
The sleep deprivation.
Yes. He points out that other contestants might intentionally try to keep you awake at night.
Just to mess with you.
It is a deliberate psychological sabotage tactic to wear you down. By depriving you of sleep, They diminish your cognitive function, making you far more prone to emotional outbursts or strategic errors the next day.
So how do you even defend against that kind of psychological warfare?
The survival mechanics he outlines are incredibly practical.
Let's hear them.
First, he recommends learning how to exercise without any gym equipment. You need to keep your body moving to process cortisol and manage stress, so you have to know how to do a full workout in your bedroom or a small backyard with zero gear.
That makes sense. Keep the body moving to keep the mind sharp.
Exactly. And then he implements a very strict rule regarding alcohol. Limit yourself to 2 glasses, max.
Even when the producers are giving it out for free.
Especially then. The reasoning is twofold, and it's brilliant. First, you need to stay entirely focused on the game. Alcohol lowers your inhibitions, making you far more likely to forget the hot mic rule and say something that destroys your brand.
Right, the hot mic.
Second, you have to maintain a clear complexion. The studio lights are bright and unforgiving. Good nutrition, hydration, and limiting alcohol are actual strategic advantages on television.
Wow. He also heavily advocates for daily journaling as a mindfulness strategy.
Yes.
When you are surrounded by chaos and paranoia, you need a private mental space to process your thoughts and ground yourself.
It's essential for survival.
When you step back and look at all these strategies, the OSINT, the corporate risk management, the psychological defense tactics, it makes total sense when you examine the author's broader universe of work. Because he doesn't just write about reality TV.
No, his overarching focus across his entire career is always on extreme preparation, security, and the intersection of technology and human behavior.
Right.
For instance, he has a fiction novel coming out called Tower 51.
Oh, I saw that.
It's a cybercrime thriller centered around the most connected building in the world, where an IoT whisper, basically an Internet of Things hacker, exploits vulnerabilities in smart devices, and a federal agent has to investigate the dark secrets of its residents.
Which perfectly aligns with his background. And he has also written nonfiction books on overcoming imposter syndrome.
Yes, he uses what he calls a FIG jam mindset.
FG Jam, which is all about instilling radical self-belief to combat the feeling that you just don't belong in high-stakes environments.
A very useful skill for TV and the boardroom.
And on top of that, he wrote a book specifically designed to help people prepare for the police academy, highlighting complex concepts like advanced forensics and intelligence analysis tools.
It really proves that he views the entire world through a unified lens of extreme preparation, security, and situational awareness.
It's all connected.
Whether you're trying to become a federal agent, secure a smart building against hackers, overcome imposter syndrome, or just win a dating show, the foundational principles are identical.
So, what does this all mean for us? Let's synthesize everything we've unpacked today.
Okay.
Winning a reality show, according to a former cybercrime investigator, has absolutely nothing to do with luck or just having a loud personality.
Not at all.
It is about extreme, almost obsessive preparation. It is about utilizing active listening and empathy in high-pressure group settings. It's applying corporate strategies like a SWOT analysis to your daily personal interactions. And above all, it is about fiercely protecting your personal brand from the vipers who want to tear you down.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true beauty of this deep dive is that you do not need to be stranded on a remote island or locked in a camera-filled house to use any of this.
Thankfully.
Tomorrow morning, you can use the STAR method to structure your answers in your next job interview.
Absolutely.
You can use open source intelligence to thoroughly and legally research the stakeholders before your next big client pitch. You can use active listening and extreme empathy to navigate and defuse toxic office politics.
You can even just limit yourself to 2 glasses of wine at the next company holiday party so you stay focused, don't say anything on a figurative hot mic, and keep your professional brand completely intact.
It is practical advice for every environment. And it leaves us with a really fascinating concept to mull over as we wrap up today.
Let's hear it.
Imagine if we navigated our own daily lives, our digital footprints, our casual office interactions, our personal relationships with the exact same hot mic awareness and OSINT-level scrutiny as a reality TV contestant.
Wow.
Would we communicate differently? Would we be more intentional if we assumed the cameras were always rolling on our character?
That is such a powerful thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, keep learning from unexpected sources, and as always, keep diving deep.